Yes, welcome to the world of Q&A, sir. It's been 84 years. It's been a little while. Probably only been a couple of weeks, but we're here and we've got loads of stuff to talk about. I already see Isla, Darge, painful discourse. Why quarter past? Darge, I'm starting at quarter past because Gaz very helpfully scheduled his video for 9 o'clock today. If you haven't already caught it live, it'll be there afterwards. Afropunk, I've not seen you around here before. Welcome. Who indeed, Darge? Who indeed? So, before we get into it, and we will get into it, there's lots to get into today, but before we do, a word from our sponsor, Buttons. This is my green screen. Fuck. My green screen does not sponsor this stream in the slightest. It's just let me down slightly. Sponsored by Game On Daily, of course. Platform, YouTube channel, wonderful destination for all of your gaming news, such as little tidbits like FTC sues to block Microsoft's acquisition of game giant Activision, and other such trivial stories that perhaps we'll get into as the show goes on. Before we do though, same as every single week, no matter what news is dropping and how excited people are to talk about it in the Twitter sphere, I prefer to talk about games first. That's what I'm here for. Games are what I enjoy. Games are what you enjoy. You wouldn't be here in the slightest. You were just watching me in virtual reality as you were out earlier. We'll talk a little bit about what I've been playing, but as always, I need to know what you've been playing. Darge, you immediately asked me why I'm not playing Evil West with you. Do you have Evil West? Do you recommend that I get it? Do you recommend that I play it with you? Those are questions for you. For everyone else, painful discourse. Why a Halo background? I'll come back to that. There's not really a reason though. So, yeah, what's everyone playing? There's so many games out. There's not supposed to be games that release in December because that's illegal. They're not supposed to sell if they release in December. But we've got Marvel Midnight Suns. We've got Callisto Protocol. We've got the Final Fantasy Crisis, whatever it is, thing. And we've got, I don't know, High on Life is next week. We've got a million games have come out. We've got Walking Dead Saints and Sinners 2, if you like a bit of quest gameplay. We've got Hubris on the PC VR side of things. There are loads and loads of things that you could be playing right now. I don't have time or money, so I don't know if these are good or bad games, which is where you come in. So Darge, you're saying Evil West is fine. You're not a fan of any game. Oh, I'm not a fan of any game, but I love almost every game that's not 12 minutes. I love almost every game that's not 12 minutes. It's not me that abandoned Outriders at 84% of the way through the campaign. Painful Discourse is playing the Elden Ring Coliseum PvP arena update thing. Trailer looked really good. Concept didn't sound all that interesting though. Good as Elden Ring is as a game, you have all of these like high fantasy characters running across a big drawbridge to a castle, and it looked very epic. But then it's like an arena at the end of it, so I don't know, maybe it's brilliant, you tell me. Kratos, last night you downloaded the free PlayStation Plus games, you haven't tried them yet. Oh, Need for Speed, that's another one that came out. Maybe tonight you're playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare and a mobile game, Marvel Contest of Champions. That's not the same as Marvel Snap. Yes, I'm on Top Chat. Thank you for helpfully pointing out my inadequacies. I can now see everything. So Darge is accusing me of being a liar. But so Darge, you do have Evil West. You are playing it and you are enjoying it, because I've heard quite mixed things about it. I intend to get it, but I have I've spent my money for the next year on a new VR headset that I'm having some trouble with. So there's your answer for why I'm not already playing Evil West with you. Cannot afford Evil West at the moment. What I have been playing this week though, because it's only fair that I also talk about it, I'm still slogging my way through God of War Ragnarok, which is I said this, I don't think I did a show last week, so if you're wondering why I didn't do a show last week, I sat with ACG, Karak, Angry Centaur Gaming for about 3 hours talking about virtual reality and all that exciting kind of stuff. So if you really are into that kind of thing, there's a podcast on Spotify that I did with ACG. It was a lot of fun, and it was literally 3 hours of virtual reality talk, so get on that if you want to. But yeah, over the last couple of weeks I've played a bit of God of War. I'm still not that far into it, and I've got through, like, the beginning is brilliant. And the midsection has pacing issues, I thought. I was like, oh, middle of this has got some pacing issues. I'm a little concerned with the way these puzzles are structured. Then I hit the wall of pacing issues. If you've played it, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. I'm going to be really non-specific because I really don't come here to spoil anything. But, ooh, long. Let me out of here, please. Let me get back to the game. No, we've got to go again. Let me get back to the game. No, we've got to go again. All the yodeling and all that bullshit. Terrible, terrible section of the game, which I finally got through. And it immediately picks up again and says, hey, there's a good game here. So, God of War is still very high on my list to get through. It feels a little bit like a chore because I feel like I do need to finish that one before I can get back to all the other games that I want to play. But I've also been spending a lot of time... No, Tony. A lot of time in virtual reality. Let's talk about this background. So, Painful Discourse, you asked why I've got Halo in the background. There is no particular reason. The entire... Like, every week I just pick a background from a game, and it doesn't need to be a brilliant game, it doesn't need to be a terrible game. It needs to be a game that I can record nicely without interface elements and like a gun floating around the screen or whatever else is going on. So I picked Halo this week because somebody said on Twitter, oh, you should try Halo with the HUD disabled. And I was like, oh, you can disable the HUD on Halo now. I bet I can get a little recording out of that. That is the entire thought process as to why Halo is there in the background. It's got nothing to do with the custom game browser. It's got nothing to do with whatever season is launched at the moment. It's got nothing to do with Hargeek claiming that the campaign is worth playing 70 times or whatever. It's just there. It's just Halo in the background because Halo. The OST, on the other hand, I figured this background is pretty easy. A lot of people are going to visually recognize Halo immediately as soon as it comes on. So I'm going to give them an obscure, difficult OST that nobody's going to get. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. So that one's open for people. Obviously, if you're here now and you recognize this OST, then blurt it out. If you're watching after the fact, you're a legend if you managed to guess this one and put it in the comments, because I don't think anyone's going to. And that's that. Who else has... give me your God of War feedback, though. Like, everyone's played a bit of God of War. Don't give me spoilers. I'll be mad if you give me spoilers. I'll actually... I'll somehow blank them out. I'm really good at it. I've seen no spoilers for God of War, despite them being presented in front of my face many times, I'm sure. But I have a good filter. But just broadly, have you finished it? Is it brilliant? Or should we save that for a little Game of the Year talk later? Nah, just blurt it out. Just blurt it out and tell me what you think. Good game, bad game, overrated game, favourite game ever, whatever it may be. I've also been playing, and you may know this because I've been streaming these, but frequently deleting them after the fact because I've had some problems. So I've got a MetaQuest Pro, which is a thing. It's an expensive... professional targeted expensive virtual reality headset, which I'll talk about a little bit. I know we've got all of the news, all of the things happening, all of the Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard stuff. Don't worry, we'll get there. But games are the thing, and for me that's virtual reality at the moment. So Isla, you assume that it's overrated. Ragnarok had too many PlayStation tropes. Eric Cuts his videos were spot on, you know. It doesn't have stealth in it, so I'll take it. The PlayStation tropes are very real. I actually had a video that I did months ago that touches on some of them. Quite an unusual video, but it must be terrible because Gaz has kept it in his pocket for months without pushing it out. So I did a terrible video that touches on some of the PlayStation tropes in a light way. But the primary one that I hate in the PlayStation tropes, I'm not a big fan of the ledge climbing and things like that you always get. And they've been around a long time. But it's stealth. Everyone knows I hate stealth, and the PlayStation take on stealth is the kind of industry standard terrible take on stealth. And God of War doesn't have that. In fact, it even has a voice line in there poking fun at it, where is it a spoiler? I'm not going to say. One of the characters that you're with, who should already be familiar, suggests that you try your next encounter using stealth, and Kratos is like, no. So that's good. You finished Moonscars. I've never heard of Moonscars. There's not even such a game. Wait for it. Let's see. Is Painful Discourse full of shit? Trailer. Moonscars trailer. Oh, I recognise it as soon as that's come up. That reviewed quite badly. It looked quite nice. For people wondering, here is the trailer. It has that like monochrome with red splashed in kind of look to it. There's a few other colours in there, but it's like a Metroidvania, right? Pixel art Metroidvania with big swishy swords that I don't think was critically received all that well in the end, but if you like that kind of thing, and I'm not a big Metroidvania fan myself, but if you like that kind of thing, here is one of the Castlevania ilk. Painful Discourse, so you liked it more than you expected. I'm assuming that means you liked it loads. Isla's going to do crimes. Cool. Radeon RX 7900, worth it. Tony will come back to that soon. It won't fit in your Steam Deck. That's all I can tell you for certain. If you try and plug that into your Steam Deck, neither the card nor the Steam Deck will work anymore. I looked into the unfinished Swan yet. Kratos, it has been more than 6 minutes, and I did have a look at it, and I was a little bit disappointed because as far as I can tell, it's not a VR game. So I was playing, I wasn't even going to mention this as one of the games that I was playing. I was playing Cosmonius High in VR, which is from the people that make Job Simulator and Vacation Simulator. And it's not really my kind of game, but you do get to spray paint all around the environment. And Kratos saw me like painting people and things and suggested the Unfinished Swan. The Unfinished Swan is, it's a black and white game, right? And you paint the environment to reveal the level and the story or whatever else. And it could be that I would enjoy it if I actually got onto playing it. But I don't have time to play things that aren't VR at the moment, which isn't strictly true. God of War's not VR at the moment, but VR is my focus. My backlog of pancake games is huge, and interesting as the Unfinished One kind of looks, I can't put it high up on my backlog, so it can sit there somewhere like 748th in the list of games I need to get to. Maybe one day if Microsoft blow their top and destroy the gaming industry and games entirely stop releasing, maybe one day I'll get to number 748, play the Unfinished Swan and tell you all about how I found it. But yeah, haven't yet. Decado, hello again. Welcome. So, oh, it's got other colours when you get through, and crocodiles and things. That's encouraging. But no, realistically, it's not likely that I'm going to get to that one soon enough to satisfy your curiosity. It's only a 2-hour game. I like that. That's encouraging. Great trophy for the invisible level trophy. I don't do trophies and achievements, but 2-hour games, that brings it up to 614th on my backlog, because things that I can actually get through in a short period of time, it's easier to check them off, right? They're the low-hanging fruit of a backlog. Chop through and get it done. The trailer's got lots of like promising review scores at the end of it. There's another one, there's a recent release on Game Pass that I'm supposed to play that begins with S, and I still haven't got to. What's 613th? KY has called my bluff. I cannot enumerate or index my own backlog. I don't know what any of the numbers are. I just pull them out my arse. So, I mean, it's Total War. One of them. Definitely. Not Warhammer, because that's a lot higher on the list, but one of the other Total Wars is 613th. You think you're going to buy a Quest this week after watching the game earlier? So, Decado, the way that I was playing earlier is streaming from a PC. Are you planning to buy a Quest to use alongside a PC, or are you planning to use it natively? Because the game that I was playing, Blade and Sorcery, you can play natively. There is a version of it. Tony, that's mean. Why are you calling me a robot? Just because you don't know what the OST in the background is and you feel like a gaming failure. Subliminal, that's the other one. Is it? Is that the other one? No, it's not. I haven't tried Subliminal. I'm going to bring up my own gameplay of Blade and Sorcery from earlier today. There's a couple of things that I've played in VR, and I will talk a little bit about the MetaQuest Pro and my experience with it so far. If you have been around my live streams. There are a few that have gone up and been deleted because they just went a little bit wrong. Blade and Sorcery today went a little bit wrong in places. But let's just start somewhere from the middle, leave it open for a little bit. It's very funny as a game. I have a lot of fun playing this. So I'm on the MetaQuest Pro, I'm on my treadmill. I'm having some tracking issues with my hand. Right now on screen, I'm trying to figure out what it takes to pierce armor with a flaming sword and using my telekinetic powers to get a shield. I'd probably die soon. I die very often in this. I don't play well, but it's absolutely brilliant fun. So you're getting a PC in January. Good. So where I'm playing it here, there are no wires. I'm playing it using the Oculus Air Link PC VR. So I've got the game on Steam, playing it via the PC wirelessly to the Quest Pro headset, but you can do it on the Quest 2 as well, just as well. And it's a brilliant way to play VR. You can definitely play Blade and Sorcery without a treadmill, and you'll be better at it than I am because you can do things like move in to stab people. I'm effectively fighting with something hugging my waist and stopping me from moving in the way that I would want to. So it's brilliant fun for exploring and for running around, but actually makes me a bit less effective a combatant, as it were. But it does protect my room. If I were playing this game without my treadmill and actually moving around and trying to like stab everything, it would be bad news for my room. I'd break the furniture all over the place. Oh, this is a boring bit where I struggle to get through a door. Skip forwards, skip forwards. And this is me trying to figure out if my hands are going to keep tracking. So if you have been watching my streams, you will have seen much frustration as my hand suddenly dropped to the floor and stopped working. And one of the key advantages of the Quest Pro over the normal Quest and most inside-out tracking headsets is that the controllers have onboard mobile phone processors basically and 3 cameras. They're supposed to track their own position in the environment. So if you cover them behind each other or stick them up your butt or whatever you want to do, like get them out of sight of your headset, they're supposed to track perfectly in all positions in the room because they're tracking themselves within space rather than being looked at by the headset. And most of the time, well, no, not even most of the time, some of the time it's perfect. Whenever I'm not streaming, it seems to be perfect. But whenever I go to stream, they just disconnect for seconds at a time. And that's a massive problem. It's a massive problem that's upsetting me a lot. And I'm going to have to talk to, I think my next step for it is to talk to Meta. I'm going to phone Mark Zuckerberg or Lord Cognito. These are the only 2 people I know that work for Meta, Lord Cognito and Mark Zuckerberg. I'm going to try and get them on a conference call and see if we can't work this out. I'm dangerous with that sword. I'm dangerous with everything, but Dodge is off. Dodge, Evil West will happen when I can afford it. It's higher on the backlog than the other games we've spoken about. Oh yeah, I remember that fight. That was definitely a draw. Kratos, you don't have Game Pass. And it's been about 5 years now since you touched your Xbox. Fair enough, Kratos. Fair enough. Oh, I've never met anyone that's not got Game Pass before. That's not true. You'll buy it for me. No, Dodge, I can't accept Christmas charity. I do appreciate the offer. Besides the tracking issue with the hands though, so the MetaQuest Pro, and I will do a kind of formal review / look at it, but I don't want to put out a review that says the controllers is shit and then find out that it's something I've done wrong. So I want to work through this issue before I review it formally. But if you're wondering how it is, it's really, really nice. It's hard to say that it's worth the price that it costs for a person that's not already well versed in virtual reality. But if you're already a massive VR nerd like myself, it is a very, very good way to play. And it's one of the best things about it is absurdly simple. It's the fact that it doesn't use AA batteries. Sorry, Xbox fans. I know you like your AA batteries in your controllers, but that's a shit way to play. And on the Quest 2, you are stuck with it. The hands have AA batteries. The headset needs a USB-C cable to charge. And that might sound trivial and I might sound lazy, but bear in mind I strap into a treadmill and run around when I'm playing VR, so I'm not lazy. But the convenience factor of a charging stand makes such a difference. It makes such a difference to just be able to pick up the headset, put it on and play, and then when you're done you pop it back on the stand and next time it's ready. I love that about it. In terms of other advantages over the Quest 2, the image is a bit better. The lenses are really nice. So it's got pancake lenses, nothing to do with the flat screen way of gaming, but just the shape of the lenses. No, my green screen. Oh, fuck off, green screen. Let's just chop that down a bit, I think. It's got pancake lenses that do a very good job of keeping the screen nice and clear all the time, wherever you look. It's also got, for better or worse, it's got very adjustable positions for the lenses, so you can pull them really close to your eyes or move them a bit further away if you wear glasses or whatever, as well as moving them in and out to match like the distance between your eyes, which is all fairly standard stuff. What's perhaps a little bit disappointing is that that's a very manual process on the Quest Pro. So if you want to push the lenses closer to your eyes, there's a little dial on the top and a little wheel, and you have to wheel it in until they're close enough. And if you want to slide them in and out, then you literally prod them with your fingers in and out to get them to the correct position, which is perhaps clunkier than it should be, but you do have the flexibility to get them exactly where you want them. And then you'll find that they don't stay there when you move around, so you need to move it back each time. Peter Moore, so Kratos, you really loved the 360 generation. You didn't like the DRM attitude after. I'm glad you mentioned the DRM attitude, Kratos. Do you remember how long ago that was? It's something that I think I'll talk about a bit more later on, but it is it's an interesting point when you talk timescales for how the industry moves and other relevant things that have been happening today. Have they patched Evil West a couple of times yet? They definitely patched a couple of the invisible obstacles out of it, I think. Some people get through it without ever hitting any bugs, but some people do. How many times have streams been cancelled because of forgetting to recharge? Tony, that was a frequent problem. It's still a risk because I have to charge up part of the treadmill and I have to like charge up myself because I am, like you say, a robot and my own battery does get low. But yeah, just it's convenient, and the controllers not having any kind of ring on them is really like nice. I really like the headset, and it would be so close to perfect if the controllers would track consistently and not fall apart. But the other game that I've been playing, you have to charge the Slippy. The Slippy dish itself doesn't need charging, but the feet have trackers. Do you grease it? You're supposed to grease it, and I lost the grease. And going by the stain on my green screen, I suspect that the grease fell over and splattered all over my green screen. So I could use butter, but I hate the feel of butter, so I'm not going to use butter. Am I real or AI? Why can't it be both? I could be real AI. I am real AI, that's what we're going with. Put butter on my feet. I do, Isla, that's why they're slightly tinged yellow most of the time. This is not an iron deficiency or bacteria. Delicious yellow feet from butter slipping. Why don't I wear shorts when playing VR to stay cool? KY, I would love to, but I'm shy and people will see my legs. I do like the cold actually, and VR does get very warm running around, so shorts can happen. Yeah, yes, the real reason that I don't wear shorts for VR is that I went running with Isla at one point and I wore shorts and she laughed at me. I've not worn shorts ever since. Green screen my legs into chicken feet. That's not a bad idea. That is not a bad idea. Spandex. No, Tony, you're alright. You're alright. That might happen though. Shorts might happen. Like, the more comfortable I am, the longer I can run around in VR, and I do sincerely love it. It's my favourite thing to do. Blade and Sorcery is it's not a finished game by any stretch. It started off made by like one person or a really small team, and they just made it as like a physics combat sandbox. It didn't have any, it still doesn't have a campaign, it still doesn't have like the systems to make you keep coming back to it, and yet it's really popular in VR because it's freaking funny. It is. The combat's like difficult but really good, really fun, and they're adding like a roguelike loot and progression system. So what I'm playing here is they call it a beta of their dungeon system. It's a procedurally generated, quite simplistic dungeon that you can run through killing stuff. At some point in the near future, you're going to get character progression, finding weapons and armor and things, and more dungeons to run through, and it'll start to come together as a roguelike game in its own right, with the combat that it has. And when that happens, I'm going to spend so much time in it, because it is so funny to me to play this game. Even when I'm having trouble with my hands, just experimenting with things is no end of fun. And I played it a bit yesterday when I was testing my headset. I played it offline with no recording, and I regret it thoroughly, because I had an epic battle with about 6 of them on a staircase where most of them just fell over. But I was throwing flaming axes all over the place and having a great time. And playing a lot better than I was capable of today. I love that game so much. Organic computer out. Yeah, could be. I've forgotten what I was talking about, but that's Blade and Sorcery. So next year, it's going to be brilliant. You can get it natively on Quest. I'm sure it will come to PlayStation VR 2 at some point in the near future, if not launch. And it's wonderful, and everyone should experience it at some point. It makes it very difficult to go back to games with lesser combat. Even things like Skyrim in VR, you yearn for this kind of combat when you get there. But it's fantastic. Has a little glimpse of what things are going to be like as we go. The other thing that I've been playing is very different to Blade and Sorcery. It's very much a full game. War Wizard, so you can class into different things. At the moment, Decado, no, you can't class into different things. You are an everything powerhouse. You have access to 3 spells. There's a lightning spell, a fire spell, and a gravity spell. You can use those on both hands. You have a bullet time ability, but I never use it because I'm like already seeing things in slow motion because I'm a bit of a legend. But for people that are mere mortals, there's a bullet time button you can use, so like a focus cooldown thing, to slow all the enemies down and slice them up. And besides that, it's just physics. So each of the spells, you can see I've got a purple sword there because I took the gravity spell and cast it onto the sword. But you can cast them directly. You can fire lightning bolts and throw fireballs and all the rest of it. Apparently, it's stabbed in the brain. I'm brutal. They are not coming back as zombies in my game. You're also telekinetic, so you can whoosh things around and use the force in that sense. And you can just throw things and cause chaos. It's fun. Long legs. Trousers. These are definitely words. Too much information. Wait, what? What am I? Oh, you're asking. Leave my legs alone. Is that why I haven't got a feet page on OnlyFans? It is extremely fun, Decado, and when you get it on the Quest, I'm sure the Nomad. I haven't actually played the Nomad version, but I bet it's brilliant as well. And it will get fleshed out into a full game. So get it when you can. Bash things to death with a shield or with each other. Slam them into the walls. It's fun and I like it. The other game that I've been playing isn't fun. The other game I've been playing in VR, you may also have seen. Tony, leave my accuracy alone. The other game you may have seen me playing, I'm going to get rid of my Blade. No, I'll leave Blade and Sorcery there in the background just for a little bit. The other game I've been playing is Resident Evil 7 in VR. Which is a terrible idea. I don't know. I'm going to get through it. But it's very, very Resident Evil. And if you ever like played that game and been through the house and thought, oh, I wouldn't want to go there. That's pretty much what you do when you play it in VR. You go there. Played more like a trailer sneak peek. Yes, Tony. I've only played like maybe an hour of it so far because once again I was having the difficulty with the hands dropping out. But yes, I played some Resident Evil and it's very intense and intimidating and fun. So I'm going to play a lot of that. That'll also be live on this channel plenty. Resident Evil 7 did have a native PlayStation VR mode, but that was like you put the headset on but you used the controller to move around and most likely you got quite sick doing it. The PC one is community mod, so Capcom never brought the game over properly into VR, but the community are good people. You can play Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 3 Remake, Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8 all in virtual reality. So I figured, yeah, I've never played 7 at all. You're doing spinning kicks on the treadmill. Decado, it's funny you should mention kicks. I am going to get... I've got my shopping list of things I want to make my VR experience perfect. Body trackers, like the ones that Sony just released, but there's a few other ones around as well, are a thing that's on my list. And if I had those for Blade and Sorcery, I could kick the enemies away. And I don't think my treadmill is going to be enough to save the room, because as mentioned above, I do have quite long legs and I do kick quite hard. So it could be a catastrophe, but it could be worth it. Let's get rid of Blade and Sorcery for the minute. Get rid of Blade and Sorcery for the minute. I'm going to bring up my least favourite place. I'm going to bring up Twitter and show a very quick clip of Resident Evil. Resident Evil 8, on the other hand, so there is a mod that will work fantastically well, but Resident Evil 8 is getting native PlayStation VR 2 support, and I may play that where Capcom have done the work to see what it's like. Rip all my furniture. Yeah, my furniture will die. Connor, welcome along. Welcome along to a very special Q&A, so where we can mention Activision, Blizzard and Microsoft as much as we want. We can mention $70 game prices. We can mention all of the topics that I've avoided for the previous 24 episodes, because stuff's been happening this week. Stuff's been happening that makes these things worth talking about for once. But first I need to find my Resident Evil clip. I like it so much. This one might be slightly lower quality because I'm running through Twitter. So it's got Twitter's compression on top of YouTube's, which, by the way, I'm really happy with. If you happen to have watched any of this content on YouTube, I've changed my streaming methodology recently. I'm streaming at a nice high quality, even from the VR. So darks, like in Resident Evil 7, are not splattered with compression artifacts. You can more or less see what's happening at least as much as you're supposed to. They're like good stuff that I'm very happy with. John Dunn's here as well. Loads of people stopping by. Thank you everyone that's come by, either to stick through the whole of it or just to say hello, or if you're watching after the fact. It's great, and I'm very grateful that you give me any time in your day. So, shall we get on to the topics? Kaya Santi, you missed the MetaQuest Pro talk. And I know that you're the one person that's probably most interested in it, but I'll sum up very quickly for you. My Pro controller tracking issues are ongoing. I love the headset besides that, but my controller tracking issues are very much causing me a problem. Scariest parts of Resident Evil 7, when you wait for the jump scares. The scariest parts of Resident Evil 7 are all of it. Just moving around. I've never played it before and I don't really know what to expect. I don't think I'm going to survive, to be honest. This is just an introductory, the first encounter with anything hostile in the game. Am I staying up to watch the Game Awards show? No, I don't think I will. I have to get up in the morning. Not Twitter, go away. I have to get up in the morning. And it's quite late. So the Game Awards starts UK time. It's at 12:30 tonight and it's a 2.5 hour show. DLC for Resident Evil 7 is good. Thank you, Gogglepot. I will bear that in mind. It is highly likely that I will get it. Okay, Santi, Resident Evil 7 in VR has stopped you playing horror games. It's too scary. Did you play it on the PlayStation VR or did you play the PC modded version? I was actually surprised. I don't remember buying Resident Evil 7, but apparently I do have it. And it's there to play, so I'm playing it. You played the PC version as well. It's like nasty outside. Resident Evil 7's outdoor section that it starts in looks like pig shit. It's horrible. But once you get indoors, then it looks great, but you still don't want to be there. It's like I want to go back outside to where the shadows were crap, because it's less scary out there. The Exorcist VR game is super scary. You turned it off. I've mostly not touched VR horror, because as it sounds like a fair few of you are VR aficionados. And you know how freaking terrifying it is compared to like a movie or a pancake game. That stuff's there, it's coming to get you. So I've not played much in the way of horror. I've played a little bit of Phasmophobia. Oh, don't. Yes, official Nardo. You bastards. So yeah, it's terrifying anyway. But I will play more because it's entertaining if I can survive it. Makes good use of my heart rate monitor anyway. I'm gonna check those 3 games after the stream. If you like them, you'll pick them up on Switch or PlayStation 4/PlayStation 5. So let's talk about game news for the week then. Should we go straight into the one that happened like an hour before this show? Or shall we save it? Let's go straight into it. Let's go into the FTC. Explain to you the thing. So I think everyone here is quite like on the ball in terms of keeping up with the news as it comes. But the FTC are officially suing to block Microsoft from acquiring Activision, Blizzard, and King. So that's a thing that's happening. I'm gonna find the story. What have I done with it? I closed my browser. What a dickhead. Zoom. Who's got the best takes? I'm having a quick flick through Game On Daily to see who's got the FTC's actual position on it, rather than the Washington Post's breaking of the story. Press release. Here we go. Let's bring up a fairly sensual theatre mode press release. So, the FTC, this is from the ftc.gov website, but it's written kind of third person, so I don't know who's making the statement. But it says the Federal Trade Commission is seeking to block technology giant Microsoft Corp from acquiring leading video game developer Activision Blizzard Inc. and its blockbuster gaming franchises such as Call of Duty, alleging that the $69 billion deal, that's dollar money, is $69 billion deal, Microsoft's largest ever and the largest ever in the video game industry, would enable Microsoft to suppress competitors to its Xbox gaming consoles and its rapidly growing subscription content and cloud gaming business. Bum, bum, bum. I'm not going to read all of this. Am I going to read all of this? No. Yeah, let's read all of this. In a complaint issued today, the FTC pointed to Microsoft's record of acquiring and using valuable gaming content to suppress competition from rival consoles, including its acquisition of ZeniMax parent company of Bethesda Softworks, a well-known game developer. Microsoft decided to take several of Bethesda's titles, including Starfield and Redfall, Microsoft exclusives, despite assurances it had given to European antitrust authorities that it had no incentive to withhold games from rival consoles. Microsoft has already shown that it can and will withhold content from its gaming rivals, said Holly Vadova, director of the FTC's Bureau of Competition. Today we seek to stop Microsoft from gaining control over a leading independent game studio and using it to harm competition in multiple dynamic and fast-growing gaming markets. Consoles aren't fast-growing, but I get it that the other ones are. Read it all twice? Hell no, I'll read it in reverse at the end of it. Microsoft's Xbox Series S and Series X are one of only 2 types of high-performance video game consoles. Importantly, Microsoft also offers a leading video game content subscription service called Xbox Game Pass, as well as a cutting-edge cloud-based video game streaming service, according to the complaint. This is where I don't know who's writing it. According to the complaint, you made the complaint. I'm on the FTC website. Never mind. Activision is one of only a very small number of top video game developers in the world that create and publish high-quality video games for multiple devices, including video game consoles, PCs, and mobile devices. It produces some of the most iconic and popular video game titles, including Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Diablo, and Overwatch, and has millions of monthly active users around the world. According to the FTC's complaint, punctuation's hard, grammar matters, get it right, me. Activision currently has a strategy of offering its games on many devices, regardless of producer. But that could change if the deal is allowed to proceed. With control over Activision's blockbuster franchises, Microsoft would have both the means and motive to harm competition by manipulating Activision's pricing, degrading Activision's game quality or player experience on rival consoles and gaming services, changing the terms and timing of access to Activision's content, or withholding content from competitors entirely, resulting in harm to me. Consumers, sorry. The commission vote to issue the complaint was 3-1, with Commissioner Christine S. Wilson voting no. A copy of the administrative complaint will be available shortly. Okay, so we don't have the actual complaint yet. The 3-1 voting thing, I'm not into American politics, but it's 3. Why do you have political affiliations on a board like this, on a regulator? Either way, the commission has 3 Democrats and 1 Republican, and the Republican was all for it, and the 3 Democrats said no. No. The commission issues an administrative complaint when it has a reason to believe that the law has been or is being violated, and it appears to the commission that a proceeding is in the public interest. The issuance of the administrative complaint marks the beginning of a proceeding in which the allegations will be tried in a formal hearing before an administrative law judge. So was it like... Oh, I said I was going to read it backwards. So from bottom to top. That's it. That was the whole thing. Read twice. Top to bottom, bottom to top. What do we think, people? What do we think? One of the... It's not going to be overlooked. I'm sure a lot of people have picked up on it by now, but one of the interesting points about any legal action against the deal is that if we reach a certain date in June or July, then the agreement between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard is void and they have to renegotiate. So it's very likely that that's going to happen. I don't know for sure. I doubt anyone knows for sure. Anybody sensible wouldn't claim to know for sure, but it's highly likely that even if Microsoft and Activision challenge this and win, that case is going to run past the deadline for the deal being negotiated. They'll then have to renegotiate it, which, will they do it? Will they not? I don't know. It could be dead now. Could be dead now. It's not definitely, and they're all, Microsoft and Activision are both publicly saying they're going to fight it in court and try and make this deal happen, and they still want it to. But this is a very significant dent in their hopes. So KY, you reckon it's bad for gamers, bad for ABK employees? The Activision Blizzard employees is like... It definitely is a shame for them, right? Let's come off of this because it's nonsense. Mav, welcome along. Welcome along. I've not seen my name written like that before, but I'll take it. I'll take it. They've been saying this for 3 weeks though, so it's not a surprise. Wow, I've been following some Twitter experts, Goggle Po, and they were still very much in favour of this going through. Throughout the course of this week, some things have been happening. Microsoft have been making 10-year commitments all over the place to anyone that will take them. So Nintendo took a 10-year commitment to get COD on their platform. Steam decided they didn't need one, but it was offered to them, and Sony sensibly refused to talk to Microsoft. So, Mav, so you still believe it will go through? You reckon, how so though? Do you reckon Microsoft and Activision are going to get through this legal proceeding before June or July? Or do you reckon it's going to run its course and they'll renegotiate the deal and it'll go through whatever it costs at that point in time? Not yes. I gave you an or proposition. You can't say yes. Kratos has said something amazing. It better not just be that dollar sign in my name. That's not amazing. It's not horrible, but sounds like a parent telling the kids no to buying a video game. It kind of does. Microsoft, it's one of them things. I'm really surprised at how supportive everyone is of it. I don't care if they get... I don't like Activision Blizzard, and I can see the angle for the employees, it being good for them. If you've been following Microsoft news closely enough this week, you'll see that a group of employees at ZeniMax have unionized, and Microsoft have recognized that union. And that's, if that were in the UK, that would be a big deal. Unions being recognized, like, then do hold sway and power. I actually don't know how significant that is in America, but I don't think it's trivial. And if you talk about what's good for employees, an employer recognizing them in that way would be good. So Activision Blizzard being acquired by Microsoft would probably have put their employees in a better position than they are in right now. So in that sense, totally get people saying, oh, we need this for the employees. But I'm not sure that that's Microsoft acquiring them is necessarily the best way to fix a problem with the way that they are currently being run anyway. So dangers for Khan is dollars fighting this in the current recession. Yeah, I don't know. Microsoft will make Sony sell their entertainment division or make it irrelevant. The fact that Brad Smith pretty much said they tried to play nice and now they want to be out the window is a sign that Microsoft won't let this die. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they won't let it die, but the thing with Microsoft is you've also got there's quite a large group of companies that are trying to take legal action against Microsoft at the moment for the way they run the Azure platform as well, where they've already got a strong position. It's quite a serious legal activity against them for using their power for evil. The thing that I don't get though is, as gamers, every single one of us has played like a dystopian cyberpunk future game. We've all like seen a Blade Runner, we've played Cyberpunk, we've played The Ascent, we know these games, and we're all bought into the fact that the future is going to be terrible. It's going to be run by like 2 or 3 major conglomerates, and we're all going to be like indentured servants in this horrible future. And that's like, theoretically, that's what the FTC are trying to stop here. They're trying to stop us becoming indents working for the Ascent Group. And yes, it's like a sensitive topic because it's games and people like Game Pass and they like Microsoft at the moment. We all know where it leads. Like, it has to stop at some point, doesn't it? They've been addressing those concerns to the EU as well, supposedly. Yeah, they have. So Microsoft, like, the other thing that makes it not awkward, but the other thing that is the key reason that people want this to happen is that today people like Microsoft because of Game Pass, because of smart delivery, because of all the good moves that they've made with the Xbox Series consoles, and they've earned that. Like, they've earned that consumer favor. But Kratos was saying earlier that he's not touched Microsoft since the 360 because in the Xbox One days they tried to introduce the DRM, and they were the opposite of a media darling. They were like a media devil. Like, people hated everything that Microsoft stood for. They're not that company anymore, but that was less than a decade ago. So things change over time. Like, maybe in 10 years time Microsoft will still be doing good things for the consumer, or maybe they won't. Maybe Phil Spencer will still be leading it, or maybe he won't. And I don't know, there are risks associated with moving all of this power over to a company that can change over time. So I don't know. Are Microsoft now going to go vengeful and try and destroy the industry? I mean, obviously they're not going to try and destroy the industry. Are they going to try and destroy Sony and destroy all of their competition? Maybe. That'd be fun to see, right? Goggle Play, you're done with Sony. Nothing me or anybody says will make you buy another PlayStation. They're crybaby fuckers. You really learned to hate them in the last year. Sony in the last year, Sony in the last year are slightly more public. A lot of this has brought their misdeeds to light. They've always been like that. Sony domination till Ragnarok. Well, Ragnarok already came out, right? So that's not it. I don't know. Maybe Activision Blizzard King will still end up with Microsoft. Maybe they won't. Maybe next year's Call of Duty will have an exclusive PlayStation VR 2 spaceship mission. You got a package from Japan. Congratulations. The real Ragnarok. Yeah, maybe. Azure is behind Amazon in cloud services. Azure is behind Amazon in certain cloud services, yeah, but if you break that down into different offerings, I'm sure there are some where they're strong and some where they're weak. So I say, for me, on the Activision Blizzard thing, like I say, I've spent a long time now, I can't remember when this was announced, but I've spent a long time not being interested in talking about it because it wasn't an interesting topic. Just waiting for it to either go through or not. Today counts as more interesting because there is at least an update of merit, of weight that's worth considering in terms of how the whole thing is going to play out. I still am of the opinion that I don't care if they get Activision Blizzard King or not. I'm not an arsehole. I want good things for the 10,000 people that work for Activision Blizzard King, but I don't think that should fall on Microsoft. Like, that should happen either way. So if Activision Blizzard King stay independent, they still owe their employees a better treatment than they've got. General C, you're personally over it all. You care more about what happens to the devs than what happens for gamers, job security, and everything else. And if this doesn't go through, then what happens to the employees? Yeah, the mistreatment of the employees has been brought to public light. Though it's fairly clear, and Activision have a responsibility to fix that. And Microsoft is a crutch. It shouldn't have been the solution to that problem. So that should be fixed regardless. You should park that to one side and see about the deal. Is it good, bad, or ugly? I still don't know what Microsoft are going to be like in 10 years' time. I know what Microsoft are like today. I know that Game Pass is good today. I know that they're delivering like good quality games today. And I know that they've got their eyes on the mobile market. And I know that they like microtransactions. And I know that gaming could turn to shit at any minute in the corporate pursuit of money. That's just like something that we've all had to sit and watch happen for decades. So when are we going to get commercial breaks in our games? When are we going to get pay to win, or pay to progress faster in our normal games? Because these are the hooks that work and get money for businesses. And I'm not saying that Microsoft are more susceptible to this than anybody else, but there is no company that I trust to be like a singular steward of gaming and where it goes. So you heard the Xbox are going to reinvest the $70 bill into the $70 billion into developing and expanding VR. See, they're definitely not going to do that, John. For me, as someone who really wants more VR games, Microsoft buying studios has been a little bit irritating because they stopped their studios from working on VR games. And I get a lot of people aren't interested in that. They don't care for that. Don't see it as the future. Don't want it now. Don't want it ever. Whatever that may be. Personally, I like it. There's more hope for me getting Activision games in VR if Microsoft don't buy them than if they do. But I also like Game Pass. I like having games that I don't have to pay for. So for me, there's pros and cons regardless of what way it goes. Gas is the future. Gas can be the future, Tony, but hopefully there will always be good people making things the old-fashioned way. GogglePo, there is definitely no money in VR. That's not Microsoft's fault or Sony's fault. No, it's not, but it's their responsibility, right? Is it their responsibility or isn't it? Should they just be chasing money, or should they be trying to drive the industry forwards? Like, who's going to drive it forwards if it's not these massive conglomerates that want to buy everybody? That 70 billion could money hat everything, and there's nothing that any regulator can do. I see that a lot as a theory that people have, that Microsoft are going to go vengeful. Going to go vengeful and spend that 70 billion on anything and everything. I think Microsoft have some room to spend money to be more aggressive and do more damage to the competition in that sense, but I don't think this will give them like much motivation to do that. Much as it seems personal and they're all against each other and Sony are undermining the deal and all the rest of it, really they're going to keep making the decisions that they think will get them the most money. I don't like, people think that Activision, I've seen this a lot, particularly on Twitter and things, that Activision are going to hate Sony now and all the rest of it. Activision are not going to hate Sony. Activision are going to continue to work closely with Sony if the deal falls through. If Sony want to pay them for COD marketing rights, Activision will be just as open to that as they ever were. Yeah, I'm very serious. They'll do whatever gives them money. They're not going to be like soap opera bitter. They're not going to cut off, because you got to remember, if this deal doesn't go through, and it's still an if this deal doesn't go through, Sony represent their biggest market outside of like the mobile space. So, and they're just going to keep chasing the money. That's their job, right? That's what their shareholders will expect them to do. They'll say, okay, Sony fucked this up for us, but we need to chase as much money as possible, and that means working with PlayStation. There's no way that you can argue that this is bad for the workers. Yeah, I don't know that the FTC are arguing about the workers on this one. I know that they mentioned it in previous quotes and things. And Activision's history with workers is definitely like a mess and definitely needs fixing. I'm not assuming that Microsoft won't spend. I'm just not assuming that their strategy for spending will shift dramatically. Sony will have lost shareholders a fortune. Yes, shareholders. This is true, but that doesn't mean that they'll want to stop working with them. Because they can't self-harm. It could be that they'll be more keen to move away from Sony when the market has shifted enough that makes sense. Like, it might happen a little bit sooner than it would have. But they're not instantly going to say, like, you're not getting Call of Duty anymore. Because that would just be chopping their nose off despite their face. If Activision Blizzard just released Xbox versions and Game Pass, it would force gamers to switch platform. Activision Blizzard King wouldn't lose money. Nah, they'd lose a ton. At least short term, they'd lose a ton. Long term, there might be some sense there, but no, that games will keep coming to PlayStation for a while at least. It's like asking Sony to let Sega survive with the Dreamcast. What do you mean? I'm not saying that Microsoft will try and let Sony survive. What do you about VR? Oh, don't buffer. Skipped frames due to encoding lag. That might be my fault. The buffer might have been on this end. I apologise if so. Well, Xbox would, yeah, but KY, would that be in Xbox's best interest? So they actually, like, is Sony that big of a threat that they need to spend all that money just to hurt Sony? Like, Sony is just Sony. They're just in the console space. Who knows what's going to happen? I sure don't. I'm just keeping half an eye on OBS because it is saying that there's been a couple of problems there. Couple of problems with the encoding, which is unusual because it's not doing anything too taxing right now. Everyone forgets that Microsoft saved Apple. They've never killed their competition. Long time ago, but yes, that did happen. Sony are in a load of debts. You expect Activision will move towards the money, and that's Microsoft if the deal falls flat. Sony's, like all companies, are in debt. That's not literally all companies, but debt's not a problem with like throwing money around. Just how businesses operate in this wacky world we live in. It's for the long term to make gamers switch over, but is it though? Because if you're Activision and you have a long term strategy to push like Sony out of the market, then you are giving Microsoft complete control over your own destiny. Which would be... it would be a risk in its own right. Because much as the Activision Blizzard deal wouldn't necessarily do this, if you do literally try and give Microsoft a monopoly, there are reasons that these regulators are existing to stop that from happening. It's not something that favours like anyone in the industry really. So, and then the argument from the FTC over the Microsoft and Activision Blizzard thing isn't like, is a monopoly good? It's like whether it's going to happen, whether this is a problem in that sense. I think everyone acknowledges that if they did have a monopoly, that would be bad. Harder for a company to get loans if they do not have outstanding debt. Yes, Decado, wild stuff. If it does fall through, you wouldn't mind Microsoft getting CD Projekt Red. Sony does it with exclusives. Yeah, I'm not like cheerleading for the way that Sony, apart from VR, the only thing that I like about Sony specifically, no, there's two things actually. There's two things that I do like about Sony. Stacked up against plenty of things that I don't. One thing that I like is that they are investing in VR despite the fact that nobody believes in it. This is a thing that I like about Meta as well. Like, they are trying to build something new, and it is like that sets them apart from Microsoft, who really don't care about it. So I like them for that. And that's a personal thing because I enjoy VR myself. The other thing that I like them for is the lack of microtransactions. They're still like pretty much the only ones making big budget games and not selling me costumes. And they're slipping on that one. They are slipping on that one. If you like get certain editions of God of War, you get a different costume, like you pre-order it and all the rest of it. But they're not selling piecemeal multiplayer and things like that within their big AAA games. So I like them for that. Those are two things that Sony do right. Things that they do wrong, there are plenty of. There are plenty of things that they do wrong. Historically, I mean, they bullied their way through the industry with money and sinister deals. They money hat things in horrible ways. Timed exclusives suck ass. They do a lot of bad in the industry. I'm not here saying that I love Sony. I'm just also not particularly in the Microsoft fan boat either. They do some good things. Microsoft did, like, smart delivery as a thing that Microsoft gave to consumers that consumers love, but consumers never asked for. So that's something that they improved for people off their own back for positive reasons. They've got a really good movement with like their accessibility controller and things like that, which again doesn't net them much, but it's like the right thing to do. So Microsoft are doing something good in that sense. And I like what they're doing with Game Pass at the moment. I don't know if I like where Game Pass is going to be in 10 years time or not, but I like it at the moment. They added paid armor to Demon's Souls remake, did they? See, Painful Discourse, this is what I mean by they are slipping in some ways. I didn't see that though. I played through the entirety of Demon's Souls remake and I don't remember it asking me to buy anything. The reason that I point out that they're slipping is that in God of War Ragnarok I have a set of armor that I got for pre-ordering the game, and that's not entirely new. Like saying you've done that before as a pre-order incentive, but the overlap between microtransaction and pre-order incentive is very, very close. They're both things that I don't like or approve of. So not a fan of that. And I'm not entirely saying like there's no place for microtransactions in any game ever, but I'm glad that there's no place for microtransactions in God of War and Spider-Man and Ghost of Tsushima and all of these kind of things that they make, as opposed to Halo Infinite, which they decided they couldn't even put in Game Pass. They wanted to put so many transactions in it. So Nintendo as my number one. KY, there might come a time when it is. Nintendo are so arse backwards that if the industry goes off the rails in a way that I don't like, Nintendo might be my last refuge. And I really hope they make decent hardware one day. Really hope. Where are we? 20 past 10. Let's talk a little bit about... Shall we mention... So earlier in the week, immediately prior to this happening, Microsoft announced that they were going to increase the price of their games to $70, in line with basically the whole industry. Most of the industry has moved their price over to $70. What do we think of that? Are we mad? Is it fine? Do we not care because we've got Game Pass? What's the deal? I've seen some passionate Twitter arguments around it that go to one extreme or the other, like Microsoft are evil and we should all boycott them. It doesn't matter because we've all got Game Pass. You can't say it doesn't matter because of Game Pass. That's missing the point, and all the rest of these silly arguments that go round in circles. What do we actually think? Inflation, part of life. Is that fair though, Kratos, when these, like, all of these companies that are raising their prices are also posting record profits? Is inflation a fair excuse for raising the price? Pricing is difficult because on the one hand, particularly if you ignore physical from the equation, which is important, physical is a pain in the ass for pricing in terms of where it is. But if you were to take a game like God of War Ragnarok, if it had cost $40 or $30 instead of $70, would it then have sold like 2 or 3 times as much? Would it actually have made the same amount of money? And it's a difficult question because the thing that throws it off for me is that I think they would sell a lot more if they sold these cheaper. But if they start at a higher price, they can do both. So they can sell these games at 70, and they're still going to sell them at 40 at some point. So it is, unfortunately, their job to make as much money as they can. So their selling strategy has to lean towards siphoning as much money as possible, which is a sad but true. Are they doing it right? I don't know. Given the money that they make, it's definitely not consumer friendly. The rising costs of making games, and yeah, the thing with the costs of making games though is like it's a very unusual model. It's yes, Kratos Sony have done a lot of remakes and remasters and reboots and all the rest of it, and more to come. The cost of games has definitely risen. Like the time to develop games has risen by a lot. When Starfield was delayed from November last year to whenever it's going to come out, that's all a massive cost added onto the game. But the way that money is recouped is not like other industries, because all of that cost, like none of it's per copy, is it? So if you have a $70 game and you sell twice as many at $40, you've made more money, and the cost hasn't changed significantly. At least in the digital world, the cost hasn't changed significantly. So it's a weird one. Like the cost to price correlation isn't direct. It shouldn't be direct, especially in a world where they're trying to grow the industry, and they are trying to grow the industry. So if you're selling these games like to more people, you don't necessarily need to raise the price. But inflation is real. I'm not like an inflation denier. I'm not saying prices should stay the same forever. I said it right that they should make games and price them according to the game that they make, rather than make a game at a fixed price already. Yes, John, that's the most disappointing thing of the announcement for me. So I will, like you say, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. So Microsoft come out and saying that their games are going to be $70 now is like, people just take it in stride because that's the way that the industry works, and there is a standard price set, but it makes no freaking sense whatsoever. No freaking sense whatsoever. Why is there a standard price? Like, games aren't all the same by any stretch or means. Some games take 2 years to make, some take 5 years to make, some sell X, some sell Y, some take 200 hours to play, some take 10 hours to play. Why is there a standard price of $70 that you then try and build games towards? It's nonsense. Complete nonsense that number exists in their heads whatsoever. To me. And the exception is physical games. Physical games have a material cost, and this is where inflation does make more of a difference, and this is where like the rising cost of distribution and materials does make a difference. If you are selling physical games, there's like a floor that you have to exceed. But for me, games should cost what they cost, and if you want to buy it physical, you should just be paying a tariff on top of it. Whatever it costs to get you that game on that disc should be in addition to the price. Like, the digital price should be fair, be that whether it was like 20 quid or 70, that's a different conversation, but the physical one should be like, you pay that digital price plus the additional distribution cost for going through a retailer and having a disc in your hand. That's the price. You can't afford new games even now. They're in Poland. They're real expensive in Poland, aren't they? We had Mads talking about it a while ago. It's even worse. They're expensive here in the UK, but even worse in Poland. If there was no Game Pass, you'd play almost nothing. I'm literally sitting here today saying there's games in December: Marvel's Midnight Suns, Callisto Protocol, the Final Fantasy Crisis, whatever it is. All of these games that I can't play right now because they are too expensive. I can't go and buy them. So I get you. I feel exactly where you're coming from. That's not fair. Everyone should be paid the same. Yeah. So UK loves expensive stuff. Tony, don't know about that. I just got hot chocolate, I assume. You've gotten past FOMO and you wait for sales. Game Pass has been a blessing. Game Pass definitely is allowing me to play way more games than I would otherwise. As for sales and FOMO, well, yes, KY, I did buy that. I worked hard and bought myself a treat, and now I need to save up before I can buy any more treats. I always find that single player games can wait, and I say this having I bought God of War when it came out because, and I say this sincerely, if I wasn't doing all of the game on daily stuff, I wouldn't have bought that game on launch. I would have waited. Single player games don't get worse over time. If anything, you get a better price and some bug fix patches to make the game more stable and better by the time you play it. So single player games, if you feel the need to play them on the launch day, then you are being mugged off a little bit, because those games will not get any worse over time. Multiplayer games are slightly different, because multiplayer games live and breathe on the community that's playing them. So typically you want to play that one while that community is thriving and be a part of it. So I can understand the need to jump on a multiplayer game quickly if that is your thing, although a lot of those don't cost money anyway. So right, they cost money, but they don't cost money. Bloody games with gold, eh? Imagine if like Microsoft or Sony were to run away and get a monopoly on the market. When will we get rid of games with gold? PlayStation Plus? Freaking never, bastards. Sorry, games with gold sucks. PlayStation Plus also sucks, but Sony have kind of layered on top of it to make it less obvious that it shouldn't be there, but it also shouldn't be there. What else have we got? The Game Awards. Let's just, like, real quick, because I don't know anything about what's going to be at the Game Awards, really, and I'm not one for guessing. So, what are we expecting? What are we expecting at the Game Awards? What are we hoping for? And I'm not so much talking about the awards themselves, like, not who's going to win what categories or whatever, but the bit that people actually care about, which is all of the announcements and trailers. What are we going to see in this 2.5 hours? John Dunn, you had an Xbox for at least 15 years and never touched games with gold. As in, you never subscribed to it? Or you never bothered to download things? Isla, if there was a toilet seat, like, in my bedroom, I'd be a bit freaked out too. Or wherever you may be. I don't know where the toilet seat is, but... Stray to win Game of the Year. Wouldn't that be something? Shouldn't Wordle be Game of the Year? There's a real conversation around that, KY. Not just Wordle, Marvel Snap as well has had a pretty big impact. I see a lot of people talking about Marvel Snap. But these kind of things are the wrong kind of games. Apparently. What does Game of the Year mean? Nobody knows. What are the criteria? What are they trying to recognise? Dunno. But we've had that conversation and not got to the bottom of it, and never will do. You've never downloaded any games with gold. So John, does that mean that you've got games with gold for the sake of multiplayer, or you just don't touch it? Turns out it's fine. Good. Yes. So we know that Jedi Survivor is coming out. Who likes Jedi Fallen Order? I thought that was a really good game. I don't typically enjoy the Metroidvania style stuff, but I really liked Jedi Survivor. No, the one that already came out, Fallen Order. It's already confirmed that Survivor is getting a trailer during the show, which is soon. Acid Flare, you've got very low expectations if you get more games shown unless some celebrities promoting their whatever. Well, yes, we don't need to see The Rock selling his energy drink. We don't need Kojima selling his podcast or whatever. Kojima will be there to show some kind of game because he's Jeff's best buddy. If he hasn't got a game ready, then it'll be a nonsense announcement that he's also selling a range of energy drinks now. I would very much like to see, like, if there's a surprise or a game that's overdue showing that I would like to see, it's Dragon Age 4. But I'm not expecting it. EA have confirmed that they're showing Star Wars, so I don't know if they've got anything else that they want to show. I doubt it. There was lots of speculation that Microsoft weren't going to show up big because of the Activision Blizzard thing. So whatever plans they had or have not got in place, obviously won't have been able to pivot and change that in the space of a couple of hours. So if Microsoft are going to show up, it would be a Redfall release date, I suppose, which, again, hopefully soon. You had forgotten about Dragon Age 4. I really like Dragon Age. I really liked the first Dragon Age and the whole world that it built and the turn-based game that it was. The second one gave you a lot less freedom with its forced character and wasn't nearly as good, but it was still a good game. Dragon Age Inquisition I have not finished. It came out in 2014 and I played it for about 30 hours. And I was playing it on the PC I got a new PC at some point, and I foolishly relied on EA's Origin platform to migrate my save file across. And it didn't. 30 hours was too much for me to go back. So hopefully before Dragon Age 4 comes out, and this is position 418 on my backlog, I'm going to get back to Dragon Age Inquisition. Give that a playthrough before the 4th one comes out. But I'm foolishly hopeful that BioWare can do good with Dragon Age and Mass Effect games, even though there's nothing to suggest that would be the case. Hopefully they can do it. You bet Xbox has a release date due to confirming the price increase to get it out of the way. Yeah, the timing of the price increase was a little unusual. It's obviously not great news to increase the price, and normally when you've got bad news you deliver it at the end of the week to bury it underneath other talking points. Monday this week, when they were in the throes of like regulator approval and trying to prove that they're nice guys, it was unusual timing to announce the price increase for games coming sometime next year. Have I played Ragnarok? Are you talking about God of War Ragnarok, or are you talking about the virtual reality music game? Isla wins a copy of Balan Wonderworld. I have played Balan Wonderworld, which was more than enough. It's no wonder Yuji Naka turned to crime. Yes, God of War Ragnarok. I have played it. I have not finished it. I have just got through a very tedious, overly extended section of the game and been thrown back into when it gets good again. So as soon as this show is done, I'm going to go and play. No, I'm going to make myself a hot chocolate, and then I'm going to go and play God of War Ragnarok until I fall asleep, which has to be before the Game Awards come on. I can't be staying up all that time. So nobody knows what the Game Awards is going to have. Maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad. We'll definitely be talking about it on Saturday on Go Live. Activision Blizzard King Xbox thing, I still don't care about. I really don't care if they get it or if they don't. But I do acknowledge that it's like significant happenings today that do warrant talking about. So spoilers like X, it's not. I'm aware you're not spoiling anything there, but yes, you're on the right lines. It's definitely that bit. Cadbury's hot chocolate. No. I've got a fancy hot chocolate. I don't know who makes it or what it is, but it's going to be delicious. Kratos, I will definitely catch up on the show tomorrow, yes. I'm probably not going to watch the 2.5 hours through because I don't need to see their exciting corporate sponsors, but I will catch all of the trailers and see what's what. Wonder if they'll have anything on Avowed. I would love them to, but I'm not expecting it. A hot chocolate snob. I'm not a hot chocolate snob. I don't even know what it is that I've got. I just know that it's not Galaxy or Cadbury's. With my Aldi Chocolate. It's basically, I don't know what it is. But it's like from a little hot chocolate machine that I got for the wife at some point. She wanted a hot chocolate machine. Got that, and I'm the only one that uses it. Because I'm a massive child and I've got spooky ghost cups that I have hot chocolate in. So what? Want to fight about it? Yeah. On that, I think that's probably enough for today. So tomorrow, if I'm really lucky, and I don't know if I am or not, if I'm lucky or unlucky or both, I'll get a little bit of Resident Evil 7 VR going. Valve going to show a trailer for Half-Life 3. Tony, keep your cliche up your nostril. 2 watery, 5 out of 10. Whiskey stream, good point, Isla. I can't drink the whiskey while I'm on the treadmill, but there will be pancake streams again soon. Your favourite show is ending. Yeah, sorry, and thanks. I'm sure there were some other things to talk about, but we've gone like almost an hour and a half. I forgot I did start late. Got a bit of a sore throat coming on though. Talking's getting difficult. So I will wrap this one up. Gonna say a drunk VR stream. I'm always drunk. They've all been that. That's why I keep running off cliffs and stuff. That's not true. If you see me fall off the virtual reality, you know that I've had some. No, Kratos, I can't fall off of that even if I want to. I seatbelt into it. So, and actually, when I get the second one, apparently, so the second version of this treadmill, which is a bit more responsive and which I really want, is my next. No, PlayStation VR 2 is my next premium purchase, but that's booked in the date. The next one that's like when I can afford it is a version of the treadmill that lets you swim, so you can just suspend yourself and pretend to swim. I'm not getting it for the swimming functionality, that's just a little bit silly, but I want it. For real, would you notice? If I were playing VR and I was drunk, no, you wouldn't notice. Unless I was like physically sick on the dish. But anyway, that's it for today. So, yeah, something to look forward to. Please do smash the like button, or I don't really want you to damage whatever device you're watching this from, so caress the like button gently. If you are not here live, if you're here live, then say nasty things to me, whatever you want, that's all good. But if you're not here live, tell me what the OST is. Nobody's going to guess the OST. If you guess the OST that's playing in the background, can't afford to give you a prize, but I'll be well impressed. Leave some comment anyway, and I will see you on whenever's. I'm so good at this. But yeah.